Well, it's been another very hot day across the western half of the country yesterday, and temperatures will start to ease back slightly over the southwest, while we've got the full force of heat across the Pacific Northwest. Thanks for clicking on to the Monday edition of Vogan's US Outlook. All the while, we're talking about record heat stretching from really the Texas. Mexico border all the way up to the Canadian border. We have got record cold across the northern plain states this morning, temperatures into the 30s and the 40s. Unusually cool even by their standards at this time of the year. That is going to be an air mass that shifts into the northeast over the next few days. So we're going to replace the uh, juicy, humid air across the northeastern half of the country with much clearer, fresher, cleaner air, and therefore we're going to see the temperatures by daytime very pleasant, by nighttime quite cool actually. So this is the upper air pattern here. The core of the high is still, of course, over the southwestern half of the country at the 594 decameters. We're seeing temperatures well into the 110s for a ninth and 10th straight day for Phoenix and Las Vegas, approaching records actually in Vegas for consecutive days above 110. But the greatest heights compared to normal are sitting over interior Washington state, temperatures into the 90s in places like Seattle, 100s for Portland, and it certainly is a very hot, end of the weekend, beginning of the work week. But you can see here the trough that's in place over a large swathe of the eastern tier of the country. Really, we're drawing our air in from the Canadian Arctic here, so much drier conditions here, much drier humidity levels, allowing the temperature to come down, particularly so after dark. But as we skip through this week, we are going to start to see changes taking place. We're going to start to lose the strength of the high over the southwest, so the temperatures are going to come back down below 110. So essentially, we're just going back to normal as opposed to cooler than normal. But we may go towards the cooler than normal theme towards the next weekend here. So we've got the core of the coolest air sitting over the Great Lakes through the day today, and still going to be very, very warm across the Pacific Northwest, the Northern Rockies, with temperatures a good 10 to 15 above normal. While we've got the opposite across the Great Lakes in the northeast, down into even into the Ohio Valley, we're talking about temperatures maybe even near 20 below normal for the time of the year. But you notice here the initial signs of change coming over British Columbia. We're going to start to trim back the height. We're pushing this area of high pressure east, but essentially it's going to basically collapse that strong ridge of high pressure, completely deflates, and therefore we're going to introduce a more negative height field, not just across the Pacific Northwest, not just across the Northeast, but across the majority of the lower 48. In fact, we're really going to reduce the heat across the country here compared to what we've seen. And then as we go towards the second half of this work week, the trough lifts out. We're going to build a ridge of high pressure over the southeast. We're going to introduce heat and humidity back into the northeast. But look at this here. We are going to be talking about a much fresher feel. Now, fresh in late June, early July for the southwest can be in the 90s. So, we could be talking about temperatures into the kind of upper 90s, low 100s for areas that have been talking about 115 of late. That will definitely feel a lot more comfortable than it has been. It does look as if we are going to remove a lot of the heat, but at this time of the year, that doesn't last long. We're going to regroup, we're going to rebuild the heat over the west and over the east. Trough is going to resettle back over the central portion of the country once again. Very quickly looking at the 2 minute temperature anomalies here, and you can see here where we're going with this over the coming days here. So let's skip out to the initial, and you can see here very hot conditions across the Pacific Northwest, very cool conditions encompassing the majority of the lower 48, which is very impressive for this time of the year, folks. They were seeing these kind of temperature values, 30s and 40s, even places like Minneapolis, Madison, Wisconsin, Rockford, Illinois. We could be talking about temperatures that dip into the 40s, which is very, very unusual to see at the end of June. The heat maintains itself over the west, but then we're going to start to replace that heat with something much fresher. Still remaining cool through the middle part of the week over the eastern half of the country, particularly so down the Appalachians, warm in the plain states. We're going to replace the chill with warmth over the central portion of the country, also across the southwest. And as we go towards the latter half of this week, you notice here that we are seeing a lot more blues in the chart, then followed by more warmth on the west coast and on the east coast by the weekend. That's it for today. Thanks for watching. I hope you have a great Monday, and I'll be back later on this week. Bye for now.